The message arrived on a cold Tuesday morning in the year 2347. Admiral Jack Morrison was drinking his third cup of coffee when the communication officer called him to the bridge. The young man's face was pale, and his hands were shaking as he handed over the data tablet. "Sir, you need to see this," he said. Jack took the tablet and read the message slowly. It was written in perfect English, which was strange because it came from a species that lived 400 light years away. The message was polite and friendly. It invited humanity to join something called the Galactic Concordat, a group of 12 alien species that had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 10,000 years. The message promised many things. Trade routes that would make Earth rich beyond imagination. Technology that could cure diseases and extend human life. Protection from the dangers that lurked in the darkness between stars. All humanity had to do was send a delegation to meet with the Concordat leaders. Jack read the message 3 times. Then he called his second-in-command, Commander Lisa Grant, to his private office. Lisa was a tall woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had served under Jack for 15 years, and he trusted her more than anyone else in the fleet. When she arrived, he handed her the tablet without saying a word. She read it quickly, then looked up at him. "This is either the best thing that ever happened to us, or the worst. I need you to analyze the transmission," Jack said. "Every frequency, every hidden signal, everything. I want to know what they are not telling us." Lisa nodded and left. She did not sleep for the next 14 hours. When she finally returned to Jack's office, her face told him everything he needed to know. "They buried scanner pulses in the transmission," she said. "Very sophisticated, almost impossible to detect. They were mapping our fleet positions, our weapon systems, our communication networks. And there is something else." She placed a new tablet on his desk. It showed a series of coordinate locks, the kind used by targeting computers. "They are preparing to attack us," Jack said quietly. "It looks that way, sir." Jack leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. He had served in the United Earth Navy for 40 years. He had seen corporate wars, colonial rebellions, and political betrayals that would make most people sick. He knew what a trap looked like. The question was what to do about it. The Terran Assembly, Earth's governing council, debated for 6 days. Some representatives wanted to accept the invitation anyway. They argued that humanity could not afford to reject such powerful allies. Others wanted to ignore the message completely and hoped the aliens would leave them alone. Jack listened to all of it. Then he stood up and addressed the council. "They are going to attack us whether we accept or not," he said. "The only question is whether we are ready when they do. I propose we give them exactly what they want. We send a delegation. We smile and shake hands and pretend we suspect nothing. And while they are watching our diplomats, we prepare our fleet for war." The council voted. The decision was close, but Jack got his way. Ambassador Daniel Cole was chosen to lead the diplomatic mission. He was a former history professor, a quiet man who preferred books to battles. But Jack had chosen him for a reason. Daniel understood something that most people forgot. Civilizations did not survive by being kind. They survived by being smart. Daniel spent 3 weeks preparing for the journey. He studied everything humanity knew about the Concordat, which was not much. He learned the names of the 12 member species, their customs, their histories. He paid special attention to the Vethkai, a reptilian race that served as the Concordat's military arm. They were the ones who had sent the invitation. On the day of departure, Daniel stood on the deck of the transport ship and looked out at the stars. 3 vessels would carry the delegation to the Concordat station. They were small ships, designed for diplomacy, not combat. At least, that is what they appeared to be. Hidden beneath false hull plating were weapons that humanity had never revealed to anyone. Railguns that could fire tungsten slugs at near light speed. Energy arrays that could cut through shields like a knife through butter. Missile pods carrying antimatter warheads. The ships looked harmless. They were anything but. Behind them, hidden in the asteroid fields at the edge of the solar system, the entire Terran defense fleet waited in silence. 72 warships, crewed by men and women who knew they might never see home again. They had their orders. Wait for the signal. Then come running. The journey to the Concordat station took 3 weeks. When the human ships finally arrived, they were greeted by a fleet of Vethkai cruisers. The alien vessels were massive, bristling with weapons, designed to intimidate. Daniel watched them through the viewport and felt his heart beating faster. But he kept his face calm. He had a role to play. High Commander Sethrak met them at the docking bay. He was tall, covered in dark green scales, with yellow eyes that never seemed to blink. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth, and welcomed the humans with words of friendship and brotherhood. Daniel smiled back and said all the right things. He complimented the station's beauty. He expressed humanity's gratitude for the invitation. He pretended to be impressed by everything he saw, but he was watching. He noticed the warships at the edge of the system, too many for a simple diplomatic meeting. He noticed the energy barriers slowly powering up around the station, trapping them inside. He noticed that the other 11 Concordat species were nowhere to be seen. Only the Vethkai were present. Only the soldiers. That night, alone in his quarters, Daniel sat in the darkness for a long time. He thought about his wife back on Earth, about his 2 daughters, about all the people who were counting on him. Then he activated his secure communicator and sent a single, coded message back to Admiral Morrison. 3 words that would change the course of human history. Spring the trap. He turned off the device and lay down on his bed. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, the Vethkai would learn that humanity was not as weak as they believed. Tomorrow, the hunt would begin, and humanity would not be the prey. The attack came at dawn, station time. Vethkai soldiers moved through the corridors like shadows, their plasma rifles ready, their clawed feet silent on the metal floors. They had done this many times before with other species. It was always easy. The targets were always asleep, always surprised, always helpless. They reached the human quarters and blasted open the doors. Smoke filled the rooms as they rushed inside, ready to capture or kill everyone they found. The rooms were empty. For a moment, the soldiers stood in confusion. The beds were cold. The personal items were gone. There was nothing but silence and holographic projectors, displaying images of sleeping figures. High Commander Sethrak received the report on the command deck. His yellow eyes narrowed as he listened. This was not possible. The humans had no way of knowing about the attack. They had no way of escaping. The station was completely sealed. Find them, he growled. Search every corner of this station. They cannot have gone far. But Commander Lisa Grant had not waited for dawn. 6 hours earlier, while the Vethkai were sleeping and preparing for their easy victory, she had led the entire human delegation through a series of maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the station's main levels. The tunnels were old, built when the station was first constructed thousands of years ago. The Vethkai had forgotten they existed. But Lisa had spent 3 days studying the station's original blueprints, which she had downloaded from a corrupted archive the aliens thought was secure. She knew every passage, every junction, every hidden corner dot by the time the attack began. The humans were already aboard their ships, sealed inside and ready for battle. Ambassador Daniel Cole stood on the bridge of the lead vessel and watched the chaos unfold on the station. Vethkai soldiers ran through corridors, kicking down doors, searching rooms that had been empty for hours. He almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Power up the weapons, he said quietly. The 3 human ships had been designed to look weak and harmless. Their true nature had been hidden behind false hull plating and fake cargo containers. Now, that disguise fell away. Panels slid open to reveal railguns and missile pods. Energy arrays hummed to life. Targeting computers locked onto the nearest enemy vessels, the Vethkai cruiser closest to them never saw it coming. A stream of tungsten slugs, accelerated to near light speed, punched through its hull like paper. The ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. High Commander Sethrak watched from the station's command center as one of his cruisers died. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something he had never experienced before: fear. "All ships, attack!" he screamed. "Destroy them. Destroy them now." But it was already too late. 400 light-years away, Admiral Jack Morrison received the coded signal aboard the USS Resolute. He had been waiting in the asteroid belt of Earth's solar system for 3 weeks, hiding with 72 warships, barely sleeping, barely eating, waiting for this exact moment. "All ships, engage jump drives," he said calmly. "We are going to war." The Terran Defense Fleet vanished from human space in a flash of light. They traveled across the galaxy in seconds, using technology that the Concordat did not know humans possessed. When they emerged in the Vethkai system, they came out firing. The enemy had prepared for a slaughter, not a battle. Their ships were scattered, their formations loose, their crews relaxed. They had expected to spend this day executing prisoners and celebrating victory. Instead, they found themselves fighting for their lives. Captain Ben Harris commanded the destroyer USS Valiant. His ship was in the thick of the fighting from the first moment. Enemy fire slammed into his hull again and again, killing crew members, destroying systems, setting entire decks on fire. But Ben kept his ship moving, kept his guns firing, kept pushing forward. "All hands, damage report," he called out. "We have lost 36 crew members," came the reply. "Decks 3 through 5 are on fire. Hull integrity at 40%. Ben gripped the arms of his command chair. 36 people dead. People he had known, people he had trained, people who had trusted him with their lives. "Keep firing," he said. "We stop when they stop." The battle lasted 4 hours. It was brutal and bloody and terrible. The Vethkai fought with desperate fury, but they were not prepared for this. They had brought executioners to a war zone. They had brought hunters to face an army. Lisa Grant led the boarding party that captured the Concordat station. She moved through the corridors with a rifle in her hands and a team of soldiers at her back. They met resistance at every turn. Vethkai warriors who would rather die than surrender. She gave them what they wanted. When she finally reached the command center, she found High Commander Sethrak waiting for her. He was alone, surrounded by the bodies of his guards. His uniform was torn. Green blood dripped from a wound on his face. "You were supposed to be weak," he said. "You were supposed to be afraid." Lisa kept her rifle trained on his chest. "We were supposed to be dead." Funny how things work out. She activated her communicator. "Admiral, the station is secure. We have the enemy commander." Jack Morrison's voice came back immediately. "Understood." "Good work, Commander." When the guns finally fell silent, Jack surveyed the battlefield. 147 enemy ships destroyed. The Concordat station captured intact. Thousands of Vethkai soldiers dead or captured. The surprise attack that was supposed to end humanity had instead ended in total disaster for the attackers. Lisa stood beside him on the bridge of the Resolute. Her uniform was torn and stained with blood, some of it her own, most of it not. She looked exhausted, but there was fire in her eyes. "They thought we were prey," she said. Jack nodded slowly. Outside the viewport, the wreckage of the Vethkai fleet drifted through space like a graveyard. Ships that had been built to conquer were now nothing but twisted metal and frozen bodies. They thought wrong, he replied, but this was only the beginning. The Vethkai were just one species among 12. The Galactic Concordat would not let this defeat go unanswered. They would come back with more ships, more soldiers, more weapons, and humanity would be waiting. Because humans did not start fights, but they always finished them. Commander Sethrak sat alone in his cell on Earth. The room was small but clean, with a bed, a chair, and a window that looked out over a garden filled with strange plants he had never seen before. The humans had not tortured him. They had not beaten him or starved him or done any of the things he would have done to a captured enemy. This confused him greatly. Ambassador Daniel Cole visited him on the third day. He came alone, without guards, and sat down across from the alien commander as if they were old friends meeting for coffee. "I have questions," Daniel said. Sethrak laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the walls. "And you think I will answer them? I am a soldier of the Concordat. I will tell you nothing." Daniel nodded calmly. "I understand. But let me tell you what we already know. The invitation to join your Concordat was a trap. You planned to kill our leaders and conquer our world. This was not a new strategy. You have done this before." Sethrak's yellow eyes flickered with surprise. He had not expected the humans to figure this out so quickly. "We found records on your station," Daniel continued. 17 species. 17 civilizations that received the same invitation we did. They trusted you. They came to your summit expecting friendship. And you destroyed them. For a long moment, Sethrak said nothing. Then, slowly, he began to talk. Perhaps it was because he knew his empire was falling. Perhaps it was because he wanted the humans to understand what they were fighting against. Or perhaps he was simply tired of keeping secrets. 17 species, he confirmed. All of them younger than us. All of them growing too fast, breeding too quickly, spreading across the stars like a disease. We watched them for centuries. We studied them. And when they became a threat, we dealt with them. Daniel felt his stomach turn cold. Dealt with them how? The leaders were killed. The military forces were destroyed. The populations were scattered across our mining colonies and agricultural worlds. They serve us now. They work for us. They live and die at our pleasure. Sethrak leaned forward, his eyes burning with ancient hatred. You soft species are all the same. You breed like insects. Left alone, you would spread across the galaxy and consume everything. We learned long ago that the only way to survive is to control. Daniel sat in silence as the full horror of Sethrak's words sank in. 17 entire civilizations, enslaved for thousands of years. Billions of beings, generation after generation, born into chains they did not choose. Why tell me this? He finally asked. Sethrak smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Because it does not matter. You have won one battle, human. But the Concordat has ruled for 10,000 years. We have weapons you cannot imagine. Fleets you have not seen. When we come for you again, and we will come, there will be nothing left of your species but dust and memory. Daniel stood up and walked to the door. He paused with his hand on the handle. Thank you for the information, he said quietly. We will put it to good use. He transmitted the recording of Sethrak's confession to every human colony, every ship, every outpost in human space. Within hours, billions of people had heard the truth. They knew what the Concordat had done. They knew what would happen if humanity lost. The reaction was immediate and unified. There was anger, of course. Rage at the cruelty of the aliens, at the fate of the 17 enslaved species. But beneath the anger was something deeper. Something colder. Resolve. The Terran Assembly convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation on Earth and every colony in human space gathered to decide their future. President Maria Santos stood at the podium, her face calm, her voice steady. "We now know the truth about the Galactic Concordat," she said. "They are not a coalition of equals. They are a prison. A cage designed to keep younger species weak and dependent while the elder races hoard power and resources. They have enslaved 17 civilizations. They tried to enslave us." She paused, looking out at the assembled representatives. "They see us as vermin to be controlled, as insects to be crushed. They invited us to their table so they could put us in chains. But they made a mistake. They underestimated us. They forgot that humans do not surrender. We do not give up. We fight." The hall was silent. Every eye was on her. "I am asking this council for a declaration of war against the Galactic Concordat. Not a limited conflict. Not a defensive action. Total war. We will not stop until the Concordat is destroyed and every enslaved species is free." The vote was unanimous. Every representative from every nation, from every faction, raised their hand in favor. For the first time in human history, all of humanity was united behind a single purpose. Admiral Jack Morrison watched the broadcast from the bridge of the Resolute. Lisa Grant stood beside him, her arms crossed, her face hard. "They have 10,000 years of experience," she said. "They have 12 species working together. They have technology we have never seen." Jack nodded slowly. "True, we are one species. One planet. A few dozen colonies. Also true." Lisa turned to face him. "Can we win?" Jack thought about the question for a long time. He thought about the battles ahead, the ships that would be lost, the lives that would be spent. He thought about the 17 enslaved species waiting for someone to save them. He thought about his grandchildren growing up on a farm in Nebraska, dreaming of a future among the stars. "I do not know if we can win," he finally said. "But I know this. We have spent our entire history fighting each other. Every war, every conflict, every struggle for survival has taught us something. The Concordat thinks that makes us weak. They are wrong. It makes us dangerous." He turned to face the viewport, looking out at the stars. "They have never faced an enemy like us. They have never fought a species that refuses to quit. They wanted prey. They are going to get predators instead." Lisa smiled grimly. "Then let us show them what predators can do." The war had begun. The war against the Galactic Concordat lasted 7 years. It was the bloodiest conflict humanity had ever known. Millions died on both sides. Entire worlds were scorched. Fleets that had taken decades to build were destroyed in hours. But humanity kept fighting. Day after day, year after year, they refused to stop. General Ryan Cooper led the ground campaigns. He was a quiet man from a small town in Kansas, the kind of person the Concordat would have ignored completely. He had grown up on a farm, learned to hunt in the woods behind his house, and joined the military because he wanted to see the stars. No one expected him to become the most feared human commander in the galaxy. The battle for Cathari Prime was his masterpiece. The jungle world was held by 50,000 Vethkai soldiers, dug in behind fortifications that had taken years to build. The Concordat believed the planet was unbreakable. They were wrong. Ryan landed with 10,000 troops, outnumbered 5-1. The Vethkai commander laughed when he heard the news. He expected the humans to attack the main base, to throw themselves against his defenses like all the other species had done before. But Ryan did not attack. Instead, he ordered his forces to fall back into the dense jungle. They disappeared into the green darkness like ghosts, leaving nothing behind but empty camps and cold fires. For 3 months, Ryan waged a different kind of war. His soldiers struck supply convoys on lonely roads. They sabotaged communication relays in the dead of night. They attacked small outposts and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The HFY sent patrols into the jungle to find them. The patrols did not come back. The enemy commander grew desperate. His troops were afraid to leave the main base. Supplies were running low. Morale was crumbling. He called for reinforcements, begging the Concordat to send more ships, more soldiers, anything. When the reinforcements finally arrived, they found the main base in human hands. Ryan had waited until the defenders were starving and exhausted, then struck in the middle of the night. The battle lasted 6 hours. When dawn broke, the HFY flag was gone, replaced by the blue and green banner of Earth. Admiral Lisa Grant commanded the naval offensive. She had been promoted after the first battle, given command of the entire Terran war fleet. It was a heavy burden, but she carried it without complaint. Lisa developed tactics the Concordat had never seen. She used small, fast attack ships to harass enemy convoys, drawing the larger vessels away from their bases. She hid battleships in asteroid fields and gas clouds, waiting for the enemy to pass by before opening fire. She struck where the Concordat was weak and retreated. When they were strong, the enemy commanders could not understand her strategy. They were used to direct confrontation, to grand battles where the stronger fleet crushed the weaker one. Lisa refused to give them that kind of fight. She danced around them, striking and vanishing, wearing them down piece by piece. "She fights like a coward," one Concordat admiral complained. "She runs whenever we try to engage." But the results spoke for themselves. In 3 years, Lisa destroyed 400 enemy ships while losing only 80 of her own. The Concordat began to fear her name. Captain Amy Patterson commanded a medical frigate called the Hope. Her job was not to fight, but to heal. She followed the battle fleets at a safe distance, picking up survivors from disabled ships, treating the wounded, saving lives that would otherwise be lost. Amy believed that even in war, mercy had a place. When her crew found alien survivors floating in the wreckage of their ships, she ordered them brought aboard. She gave them medical care, food, water, and a warm bed. Many of the Concordat soldiers had never experienced kindness from an enemy. They did not know how to react. Some of them talked. They told Amy about fleet movements, about weak points in the Concordat defenses, about commanders who were cruel and others who were ready to surrender. The intelligence she gathered saved thousands of human lives. "Why do you help us?" a wounded HFY soldier asked her one day. "We tried to enslave your species. We would have killed you all." Amy checked his bandages before answering. "Because that is what makes us different from you. We fight to protect, not to conquer. We kill when we must, not because we enjoy it. And we show mercy because it is the right thing to do." The soldier was silent for a long time. When Amy returned the next day, he asked to speak with the ship's intelligence officer. He gave them the location of 3 hidden supply bases. It was the beginning of the end for the Concordat's southern fleet. By the 5th year, cracks began to appear in the enemy alliance. 3 of the elder species sued for peace, unwilling to continue a war they could not win. They had joined the Concordat for safety and profit, not for endless bloodshed. When their fleets started losing, they started looking for a way out. The HFY, who had always been the backbone of the Concordat military, were being destroyed. Every month brought new defeats. Their colonies fell one by one. Their fleet shrank from thousands of ships to hundreds, then to dozens. The siege of their home world lasted 8 months. Admiral Lisa Grant led the assault personally, commanding from the bridge of the new flagship, the Terran Vengeance. The HFY fought with everything they had, knowing that this was their last stand. It was not enough. When the final defensive station fell, Lisa broadcast a message to the planet below. "You have lost," she said simply. "Surrender now, and your civilians will be spared. Continue fighting, and we will do what we must." The HFY High Council debated for 2 days. In the end, they chose survival over pride. The war banner came down. The surrender documents were signed. A species that had terrorized the galaxy for 10,000 years was finally defeated. High Commander Sethrak, still a prisoner on Earth, watched the news from his cell. He saw his homeworld surrender. He saw his people kneel before the species they had tried to destroy. He had been so certain of human weakness. He had spent his entire life believing that soft species could never stand against the might of the Concordat. He had been wrong about everything. The war ended not with fire, but with silence. The remaining leaders of the Galactic Concordat gathered on a neutral station far from any inhabited world. They came in small ships, without weapons, without guards, without the pride that had defined them for 10,000 years. Ambassador Daniel Cole arrived alone. He wore a simple gray suit, nothing fancy, nothing impressive. He carried no weapons. He brought no soldiers. He did not need them. The station's meeting room was cold and empty. A single table sat in the center, surrounded by chairs. The Concordat representatives were already seated when Daniel walked in. There were 7 of them now, all that remained of the once mighty coalition. The speaker was a Theshan named Verith, one of the elder species. Her silver skin was marked with the tattoos of high office, but her eyes were tired. She had seen too much death. They all had. "Ambassador Cole," she said formally, "you have won. The Concordat acknowledges defeat. We are here to discuss terms." Daniel sat down across from her and folded his hands on the table. For a long moment, he said nothing. He looked at each of the alien representatives in turn, studying their faces, reading their fear. "Terms," he repeated quietly. "You want to discuss terms?" "Yes, we are prepared to offer significant concessions, territory, technology, resources. We only ask that you allow our species to survive." Daniel had thought about this moment for years. During the long nights of the war, when reports of human casualties crossed his desk, when he attended funerals for young soldiers who would never see home again, he had imagined what he would say when this day came. Part of him wanted revenge. Part of him wanted to make the Concordat suffer the way they had made others suffer, to scatter their populations across mining colonies, to enslave their children and their children's children for generations to come. But that was not why humanity had fought. "The 17 species you enslaved," Daniel said. "Where are they now?" Verith blinked, clearly surprised by the question. "They are on various worlds throughout former Concordat space. Mining colonies mostly. Agricultural settlements. They serve as labor forces. They will be freed," Daniel said. "All of them. Every colony, every settlement, every world. They will be given ships, supplies, and the choice to govern themselves." The Concordat representatives looked at each other in confusion. This was not what they had expected. "You would release them?" Verith asked. "They have been under our control for centuries. They have no governments, no infrastructure, no ability to manage their own affairs. They will fall into chaos." "That is not your concern," Daniel replied. "They will figure it out. They will make mistakes and learn from them. They will build something new. That is what free people do." He leaned forward, his voice growing harder. "The Concordat will disband, completely and permanently. There will be no more councils deciding which species deserve to exist. No more traps. No more invitations that lead to chains. Each of your species will manage its own affairs. You will trade with each other or not, as you choose. But you will never again work together to enslave the young." Verith's hands trembled slightly. "And if we refuse?" Daniel did not blink. "Then we will continue the war until there is nothing left to refuse." The room was silent. Everyone knew he was not bluffing. Humanity had already proven what they were capable of. They had broken the mightiest military force the galaxy had ever seen. They would do it again if they had to. What about humanity? Another representative asked. What do you demand for yourselves? Territory? Ships? Technology? Daniel smiled, and for just a moment, the aliens caught a glimpse of the steel beneath his gentle surface. It was the smile of a predator who no longer needed to hide. We will watch, he said. We will build. We will explore. And we will remember. If anyone ever tries to enslave another species again, if anyone ever builds another cage disguised as an alliance, we will come for them. Not as conquerors, as consequences. The treaty was signed that same day. The Galactic Concordat, which had dominated this corner of the galaxy for 10,000 years, officially ceased to exist. In its place rose something messier, more chaotic, and infinitely more free. The 17 enslaved species were released. Ships arrived at the mining colonies and agricultural worlds carrying supplies, tools, and the message that their chains had been broken. Many did not believe it at first. They had been slaves for so long that freedom seemed like a dream. But dreams can become real. Admiral Jack Morrison retired after the war. He bought a small house on the Oregon coast, where he could hear the ocean from his bedroom window. He spent his days writing about what he had seen and teaching local children about the history of the conflict. People often asked him about the war. He always gave the same answer. They thought they were trapping vermin, he would say. They forgot that vermin survive. Vermin adapt. Vermin fight back. They expected sheep. They got wolves instead. Lisa Grant became the first commander of the Terran exploration fleet. Her mission was not conquest but discovery. She spent the rest of her career charting unknown systems, making contact with species the Concordat had never reached. She wanted to find them before anyone else could trap them. General Ryan Cooper returned to Kansas. He bought the farm next to the one where he had grown up and spent his days growing corn and watching the sunset. He never talked about the battles he had fought. He did not need to. Everyone knew Captain Amy Patterson kept commanding medical ships. She traveled the former Concordat space, helping the freed species rebuild their lives. She delivered medicine to sick colonies and food to hungry worlds. She proved that humanity could be kind as well as strong. Ambassador Daniel Cole went back to teaching. He returned to his old university and spent his final years helping young people understand the galaxy they had inherited. He wrote one book about his experiences, then refused all further interviews. The book's final line became famous across human space. Students memorized it. Politicians quoted it. Parents told it to their children. They tried to trap humanity. We buried them instead. Not because we wanted to, because we had to. Because that is what humans do when pushed into a corner. We push back, and we do not stop until the pushing is done. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Humanity was not prey to be hunted. Humanity was not a problem to be managed. Humanity was a force that could not be contained, could not be controlled, could not be stopped once it started moving. The stars were full of wonders waiting to be discovered. The universe was vast and strange and beautiful. And humanity was just getting started. Some species built empires through fear. Humanity built something different. They built a promise. A simple promise that echoed across the stars for generations to come. Never again. Never again would the young be enslaved by the old. Never again would the weak be crushed by the strong. Never again would someone reach out in friendship and find only chains. Humanity would make sure of it, because that was what they did. They watched. They waited. They remembered. And when needed, they buried the ones who refused to learn.